watching famous games on YouTube.
Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button and leave a like or comment. It all helps with the whole YouTube thing. Welcome back. I was thinking about coming on last night. It's been a kind of a roller coaster ride with the futures overnight and into the day. Let's take a quick look at the E-minis before I get on to talk about the VIX and GameStop, as was in the description. And we really saw like a down move and then back up and stuff kind of all over the board. If we do go to the E-minis here real quick, that's GameStop behind me, but we'll get to that in just a second. We can see really just the roller coaster that we've been on for the last week or so. If we zoom in just a little bit here, you can see, down one day, up the next day, down one day, up the next day. We did have this down move over, last night. Of course, on the weekends, we're closed from, 4:30 Friday afternoon till 6 p.m. Sunday. We're closed, and then stuff reopens. And after this big rally up Friday, it almost felt like there was just pressure to pull it back down. And indeed did pull it back down for a little bit, but now we're back to actually up on the day in the E-minis. E-minis up 2 at the current moment. And the VIX correspondingly is... it's showing the VIX up, and I believe the reason for that is a weekend effect, which is basically a little bit of a kind of a mismatch of the formula that makes Mondays have the VIX a little bit higher than you would think, and Fridays have it a little bit lower than you think a lot. But this is a big pop, right? And I believe that's just due to the fact that we did have that big down volatility down move overnight, and the futures moved it lower overnight and then come back, and it's just stuff's moving. So we're seeing the VIX up right now, a 0.50, which seems like a lot for the market to be currently kind of unchanged. The NASDAQ down a little bit right now. The Dow futures up a little bit, kind of a mixed bag here. But once again, the story continues to be in the market, GameStop bucking everything and just continuing to rip to the upside. Now, we've talked about this before. Of course, this is not good for position I have on, which expires at the end of April. So have a little bit of time left. If we do back up the chart a little bit here on GameStop, we can see that this is... still can pretty much be considered the aftermath of this huge move up to 500. However, continued strength here. Now, when I think of GameStop, I think, what would I do if I was the company? Now, the company is obviously making moves to try to turn the company around while they're in the spotlight. Having the price way up here and having them so much news coverage, it makes it easier to hire people. It makes it easier to have people believe in the company. And so we can see when we look at the news stories here, what I'm doing now is I'm linking in Thinkorswim the news stories to everything else. So if you look here, there's this little link thing here. And what I did was I selected red on the link. And then if I go up here to my listing of stocks, let me widen this out a little bit. Then that's listed red too. That means when I click a stock here, it's going to bring up the same news stories down below. So here I click GME and I get the GME news stories. And we can see they're making a lot of these news stories they're making moves to firm up their board and the people that are running the company. GameStop hiring 2 executives to lead the company's GameStop appointed a chief technology officer, blah, 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 blah. So they're trying to make the transition to e-commerce. And if I was this company, what I would be doing right now is trying to figure out how I can raise money based on the stock being up here. Because remember, once a company offers shares, once there's an initial public offering, the company in general doesn't make money with the stock price being higher. I mean, of course, there might be executives that own some stock. There could be debt deals that are associated with a stock where somebody who loaned the company money is given some shares in return and whatnot, and so it keeps the people who owe you money and your bondholders and whatnot happy when the stock's rallying. However, it's not like GameStop actually makes money off of the stock moving higher. So one way they can capitalize on this, however, is to do some sort of secondary offering, thus sell more shares, right? And if I was the company, I would be trying to figure out, how do I go ahead and sell some more shares without it collapsing the stock price? Because remember, when a company comes out and says we're listing more shares, that is seen as it dilutes the share price, right? So if there's only a million shares out there and all of a sudden they list another million shares, all right, well now, each share is in very real terms worth, it's less rare than it was before, right? Because there's 2 million out there instead of 1 million. So usually when you get an announcement, especially in a thinly traded issue of a stock offering of more shares, it tends to deflate the price of the stock. So the thing, the catch is, how do you offer some more shares without making the stock crash? And I'm sure this is on their minds, and if they could do it, they would do it immediately, because why not, right? Why not raise some more money while the stock price is way up here? They don't want to be seen as, as being scummy and trying to capitalize on a short squeeze and whatnot. Because if, let's say, for example, that my sort of hypothesis is correct and this kind of GameStop goes out of the conscience of the stock market and goes back to, let's say, $50 and just sits there. Well, if they'd offered, if they'd done an offering at 150 and they sold all these shares at 150, and then the next week it went right back down to 50, then it doesn't make them look good. So I'm sure they're putting all of their their money together and their resources together to try to figure out, how can we capitalize on the price going higher here? How can we do an offering without spooking everybody? The other dynamic that I think of with GameStop right now is the earnings. Now, earnings are coming up, and I'm thinking that when earnings come out, which is, I believe, at the end of March. Let me look that up as I'm talking to you now. But I believe it's going to be a reality check for many people, right? They're gonna maybe come back to reality and say, oh well, actually the stock maybe we should think about actually what the company does and what the stock's actual potential is, as opposed to just kind of this frenzy that's been going on. So I think earnings date will be a big thing for that. And even if earnings are good, it still could be kind of a reality check. So let's see if we can find GameStop earnings. I believe it's at the end of the month. Anyways, I'll put it in the description down below. I don't want to waste too much of your time here with this. But I continue to have a short position here, and I've put it out past earnings, out at the end of April. It certainly did not work out before. The position I had on was the March expiration, which expires in 13 days. And of course, we could have a down move by then, but things continue to rally here in just an extraordinary fashion. And this just goes to show that nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. People can say they do, and you don't get too married to an idea. I got too married to the idea that this thing was, as soon as it, after that initial run up, that this thing was going to just grind into the dust. And I was wrong. And when you're wrong, sometimes you just have to bail out. Now, that's kind of contrary to all of this, these meme guys that are saying, I'm never selling, and it's either going to 100,000 or zero, and I'm holding on. And the reality is, it's not going to go to 100,000 or zero. So when you say things like that, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we'll have to see what happens with that one moving forward. But meantime, the VIX continues to be something that's moving around a lot as we see the futures kind of fluctuating. We've had several times like today where things are down 30, and then you turn around and in half an hour it's back up again, and that seems to have happened several times. Now, politically, we are waiting on the stimulus deal to go. It's going back to the House now, and then it should be signed into law. There's lots of inflation fears right now, right? Because you're introducing all this new money to the economy. It makes each dollar be worth less, and we see that reflected in things like the price of oil, the price of natural gas, gold to some extent. In my mind, gold's value always stays the same. It's the value of the dollar that fluctuates around. I know you remember last year when oil prices actually went negative in the futures for a little bit. Well, guess what? We are back up in oil, and we're way away from that, and we'll see if oil can actually get maybe back to, I don't know, $100 a barrel or something, but it's been cruising pretty good lately. I'm looking at CL here, a price of 65. It did get up to 67 a couple days ago, and that just, you could say that is showing that inflation is creeping in, and we've seen prices go up. There is some scarcity out there. It's funny. I have a cat, and the cat food that I like to get, it's called Shiba. It's been off the shelves for a couple weeks, and I thought it was just maybe my store, so I checked another store. And then I looked online, I found an article. No, there's a shortage of cat food, of all things, out there, and there's supply interruptions due to the weather and the whole COVID thing. And you think that, like, we're in the modern era, all this stuff is very streamlined and they've got a handle on everything. But no, there are shortages out there, and this kind of stuff happens. So anyway, GameStop still short, looking to add to the short here. I would not listen to me if you're following my position. I would not do what I'm doing because I have not been doing well lately, certainly. I was going through a period of doing really well about 6 weeks ago, and I knew in my head something's going to go wrong because things don't just go well forever. And indeed, I've gotten smacked around a little bit in this whole GameStop thing. I do want to, I know that if I take off my short, the day I take off my short, it will go straight down. So I'm kind of keeping the position on for now, but I've rolled it out in time, giving myself ample time for people to kind of move on past this one. The sense I get is that most of the people that are buying this are not at all interested in what GameStop does or anything other than just this feeling that, like, we're going to own the hedge funds, and let's all hold on and we're going to own the hedge funds. And, that just can't last forever. You can't, a company can't exist on hype alone. And yes, the good news that's out is that they have tapped this guy from Chewy. Chewy is that pet food store. That's actually the website that I went on to try to look for cat food yesterday. GameStop has tapped this guy from Chewy, and that's kind of the bullish news. But, it's a kind of situation where, like, the media is looking for any good news to try to explain why the stock is rallying. It's not necessarily the stock is rallying because of Chewy. It's that the media is looking for a reason to find why the stock is rallying when there isn't a real rational one, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens, but I continue to remain short this one and continue to lose money on that position. So that's kind of where I am right now. I pride myself in being honest with my audience. And you know what? it doesn't help you gain viewers when you lose money, because people only want to follow channels where everybody's winning all the time. But that's not really the reality of trading, and so that's where you are. I wish I could be winning all the time, but I'm not. However, my premise has not changed with GME, and so I'm going to hang in there. The position I currently have on is long a put spread, the April 70-60 put spread. I have 41 days till expiration, and I continue to stay short. Briefly, with the VIX, we are in VIX 25.91 right now. Futures lined up nicely in contango, and the VIX term structure looking once again very healthy. If you're looking to buy the market, the VIX term structure is not telling you not to. That's pretty much the only way I can say it right now. Futures are slightly inverted with spot, the front month future, but still remain heavily in contango here this morning on a Monday morning. So I hope you have a great week trading. I will be checking in with you very soon later in the week. Thank you for watching and supporting the Short Vol Show. And from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, I wish you a great rest of your day. Please consider liking and subscribing, become a channel member. Thank you for all Patreon supporters. I really, thanks so much. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you next time.
You're watching Famous Dave.